Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also coming up on Kasmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. In less than 24 hours, registered voters in 19 out of 281 polling stations in Ablekuma North will head to the polls for a rerun to determine who will represent them in the 9th Parliament. This afternoon, we are live on grounds to gauge the mood of the constituents. Also coming up, Ningo Pampram MP Samuel Nate George urges Parliament to expedite approval process for anti-LGBTQI bill in the wake of controversy over Ghana's vote abstention at the UN. And much later, Aflao border trade remains slow after Togo protests demanding President Nyasingbe's resignation disrupt cross-border activities. We'll engage shortly with our regional correspondent. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Now, barring any unforeseen developments, the Electoral Commission will tomorrow, Friday, the 11th of July, conduct a parliamentary election rerun in 19 polling stations in the Ablekuma North constituency in the Greater Accra region. This follows months of dispute over uncollated results stemming from disruptions during the December 2024 general election. The EC says the rerun in 19 out of 281 polling stations is due to the destruction of original pink sheets and the lack of verification by presiding officers on scanned copies. The New Patriotic Party, which criticized the EC's decision, sought to injunct the process. However, the High Court yesterday threw out the application, giving the EC the green light to proceed with the rerun. Let's take you to the constituency to gauge the mood on the penultimate day to Friday's polls. Well, very shortly, we'll be crossing over to our correspondent, Noble Crosby Annan, who is standing by for us. But ahead of that, we've been getting some reactions of political parties. First, let's hear the Rashid Tanko, who is Deputy Director of Elections and IT for the governing National Democratic Congress.
We are ready for the election come 11th, Friday. As I speak to you now, I'm just coming from an engagement with the electorate in Ablekuma North, the 19th polling station. In fact, we had a very beautiful engagement led by our venerable national chairman, Honorable Asidun Ketia, and other party leaders. We had serious engagement with them. We are preparing for the election. We want to give MPP a befitting defeat come Friday. Look, they are not telling Ghanaians the truth.
And he had Rashid Tanko Computer. He's the Deputy Director of Elections and IT for the governing National Democratic Congress. Meanwhile, pressure group Election Watch Ghana has asked the NPP to rescind its decision not to participate in Friday's rerun. In a statement, the group said that despite the concerns raised by the opposition party, participating in the election is crucial for, quote-unquote, building an active involvement of citizens in decision-making for a stronger democracy. We're joined by the convener of the group, Marke Wisiako, on the phone. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon, Beatrice.
You're obviously not excited about the fact that NPP is staying out of this election, but how do you encourage the party to participate in the process they consider flawed?
A very good afternoon to you and to our cherished listeners. Just as our statement indicates that we are appealing to the New Patriotic Party to rescind on their decision for their boycotting of the Ablekuma North rerun. We all know the challenges we had with the Electoral Commission prior to the 2024 general elections, where the fairness of the Electoral Commission was something not good to write home about. Unfortunately, the NPP on the other side did not really find reasons in what some CSOs and other prominent people in the country were talking about. And unfortunately, it has backfired, where the Electoral Commission is actually doing the same to them as they did to the then opposition NDC. But to us, in order to ensure that we build a very strong democracy, participation is very, very important. And it is just a symbol of a very good democracy that we are practicing. And therefore, in as much as we share with the concerns of the NPP regarding to the Electoral Commission's inability to give them a very free and fair or transparent elections, we also are of the fact that in this particular moment, we need to build a very active involvement within our citizens so that they can make their own decision as to who they intend to lead them. More so, boycotting the election, we do not think that is a solution. And it will never meet the expectations of their own people. There are three things that we are looking at, which is going to be a negative effect on the elections in case the NPP decides or continue to go by their position that they are boycotting. Number one, there's definitely going to be a voter apathy, where their own people who probably may want to go and vote will decide not to go. Apart from that, there are some other individuals who may not be members of the NPP nor the NDC, but as citizens within the Ablekuma North constituency would want to go and exercise their franchise. But because one party have withdrawn, it will seem unserious for them to waste their time, go to the polls to go and queue to cast their vote. And it is on that reason that Election Watch is calling on especially the main political parties, which is the NDC and then the NPP, to join hands so that if we are able to agree to a term that there are several reforms that need to be met, in fact, constitutional reforms, then we can look at that so that at least we'll be able to present our democracy to the international world as a beacon of democracy. But as we speak, the decision by the NPP, if indeed happens, then it means that we will not be able to pride ourselves as a beacon of democracy, and it will not be good for us as a practicing democracy.
Yes, by your statement, you're encouraging the NPP to participate, but I'm asking whether, for instance, you've taken a step further to engage the party representatives to try to convince them to do so.
I think there have been several attempts by the Electoral Commission at the IPAC level to do that, and we have issued a statement encouraging our brothers or the NPP to be part of the process.
Thank you very much, Maka Wusiako. He is the convener of Pressure Group Election Watch Ghana. Let's cross over now to Noble Crosby-Annan, who is engaging some constituents in the Ablekuma North constituency ahead of the election tomorrow.
You know, considering, are you changing your mind from how you voted in 2024?
Nah, I'm not changing my mind. And as they say, the battle is the Lord, the victory is ours. We are just going to put in our best and expect a peaceful and serene environment tomorrow. I'll be here early in the morning to make sure I cast a better vote here. But all I'm pleading from Ghanaians is we all stay safe, humble, and pray for the best. At least the battle is the Lord and the victory is still ours. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for speaking with us. So where I'm starting currently is a mechanic workshop. There are a few mechanics here who, of course, they work here, so a lot of them too are registered voters in the Ablekuma North constituency, particularly this polling station or witness. It will be one of the venues, one of the 19 polling stations where the re-election will happen tomorrow.
And you heard the Noble Crosby-Annan interacting with Mawene Egweto. Of course, we'll try and reconnect to him to bring us more on that. Ahead of that, Member of Parliament for Ningo Prampram, Samuel Nate George, has urged Parliament to expedite the approval process for the anti-LGBTQI bill for onward presentation to President John Mahama. His call follows the controversy surrounding Ghana's decision to abstain during a vote on extension of mandate of the Human Rights Council's expert committee on the protection of rights of LGBTQI persons. In a post on X, Sam George said that he has taken note of the full statement Ghana made on the floor in relation to the government's position on draft resolution L24. He says he aligns fully with the letter and spirit of the text. However, he said he could not, in good conscience, understand the decision to abstain in the subsequent vote. Quote, he said, that vote is in conflict with Ghana's espoused position and my conscience. We must at all times make our position clear and unambiguous. Like I indicated earlier, together with my colleagues in Parliament, we have resubmitted the same bill that was passed last year by Parliament, which President Nana Adu Akufo-Addo former refused to sign. I urge Parliament to expedite the approval process, so we present the bill to President John Dramani Mahama. The innocence of Ghanaian children and the sanctity of our values cannot be traded for any consideration. Let truth and our conscience and principles be our guiding light, unquote. The Minister for Communications, like I just told you, wrote earlier on his X page. Some 11 minutes past the hour of 12. When we come back, we'll bring you some more. Don't go away.
Hello, Ghana. It's a new year and Bill's Microcredit is here to support your dreams. If you're not working but want to start a business, don't let money stop you. With just your Ghana card, you can get a loan to turn your ideas into reality. Already running a business? Need more capital? Or are you a salary worker looking for extra funds? Bills offers fast and easy loans with no collateral, no deposit, and no SUSI savings required. Wherever you are, whatever you need, Bills makes it happen. Call Bills Microcredit today. Call 0596 920 833 or 0302 200 390 and get started. Bills is licensed and regulated by the Bank of Ghana. Bills, financing your needs. Terms and conditions apply.
Freezer, yeah, diaba. Adama for diaba, a freezer. Adama, a crafty mentia. Adama, make him so, my sorry. Can you know, over Moasia? I do prefer Nobium Union and San last night. I tell what we did was here. Adama for you have from what we say. Yet the Adruba Cope, a ship we be a high technology. I could for freezer. When Kwan, and once open your 15 letters. No fugum, what ya no fugum. What the bus here? If we be any of us, you have what to say about Timono. Then we sure say, women show Tassia. Then what's enough for now? Freezer, power up a day. Freezer, Tassia, a bastion do so among Amoniaji. Omtina me, what's it car? Omtina me, but you may not do some doom. Adama, with that Adama, no queer. Adama, you can't resist.
Ubenya Adama West Africa for a dream, or baby bear a tongue cry on you. I think Kayone Kenkai in Choya, a dream.
And you're still here on the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. Now, private legal practitioner Kwame Akufo says there's a need to add a constitutional instrument to the existing Article 146, which spells out how a justice of a Supreme Court should be removed. The comment comes as the suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu goes to the ECOWAS court against the state over abuse of her human rights in the process of using Article 146 to investigate claims of misconduct against her. Kwame Akufo spoke in an exclusive interview with me earlier.
Because sometimes your thinking or your dissenting thinking can be the intelligence of a future day. So I do not like to condemn other legal work as being wrong.
Having made that point,
yes.
And once again, just before I go to the interpretation,
yes.
Would you say there are those who think that, and that's something that you said, that there are schools of thoughts regarding how she's handled matters, and others are concluding that perhaps what we're seeing now, she brought them upon herself with her own actions and inactions?
I don't believe in that she's brought anything upon herself. I think that those who have brought the petitions have their own reasons for bringing a petition. Every day in and out as we walk the streets of this republic, people make complaints against us, sometimes on their lips, sometimes on the soft part of their minds. If they had a venue to ventilate this, they will bring it against you. When a judge sits and gives decisions, she's rendered the decision. As to how you decide to look at it, it's not a matter of the judge bringing it upon herself or himself, but the judges will be caged. But as I keep on saying to you, those are not the things. Let me just move very straightforward to the point. We've had this constitution for 25 years and more. If not 33 years for that matter.
From 1993?
25 plus 33 years. Now, we have a situation where I would have thought that by now, and perhaps this case should teach us a lesson, that there's a need for a constitutional instrument to regulate the removal of the Chief Justice so that we know what pertains in the procedure.
And you had the private legal practitioner Kwame Akofo. The Northern Electricity Distribution Company of the Water River Authority has initiated a midnight to dawn monitoring operation to clamp down on illegal connections and power theft in the Greater Tamale metropolis. Even though this has been met with stiff opposition from the public, the company insists it is working within the law to deal with power theft and illegal connections. At an emergency meeting between the company and assembly members in the Tamale metropolis, the company said that the midnight operations have been positive by reducing the percentage losses from 47 to 37. I'll be crossing over to our Northern Region correspondent Christopher Mwako. He actually joins us live now on the line. Chris, tell us more really about the resident reaction to what's happening.
Yes, so I must say that the Northern Electricity Distribution Company over the period has been recording losses when it comes to power theft. And so this time they have intensified their operations to ensure that they clamp down on persons who are involved or engaged in power theft. So they started midnight to dawn operation in the Greater Tamale metropolis. Since March, when they started the operation, there has been a significant drop in the percentage of power losses from 47% to some 37%. And so this has been a great improvement for them. But the residents are not happy with the midnight and dawn operations because for them it's against the PURC regulations. But NECO in its response have indicated that they have done nothing wrong. They have not flouted any laws in their midnight to dawn operations. And so yesterday there was this misunderstanding between the two parties, but NECO has insisted that they are not going to stop. They are going to continue with the exercise so that they'll be able to clamp down on power theft in the Greater Tamale metropolis. Let's take a listen to the explanation that NECO officials have been given. And
Chris, I want you to hold on. We'll listen to that. But first, let's listen to the concerns of the Assembly members, and then we'll get the response of NECO and come back to conclude our conversation.
There is an express provision under the PURC Regulation 2020 LI 2413, which states, with your permission, and I quote, Regulation 38, Sub-Regulation 1, it says, and I quote, subject to this regulation, a public utility may disconnect service to a consumer only, underline only, between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. from Monday to Thursday. Further, Sub-Regulation 3, despite Sub-Regulation 1, a public utility shall not, which is mandatory, disconnect a service A, on the eve of a public holiday or on a public holiday. Please, we have quoted these provisions or laws that is supposed to govern you, which you have constantly flouted. Please, we want you to also quote that law that says that there is no law that bars you from doing that. Meanwhile,
and you just had a representative of the Assembly members in that interaction with NECO. Let's hear the response NECO gave them.
Management has to take some action. And I'm happy to say that even though the losses went up to 46% in 2024, when we changed strategy a little in this year, in fact, before then, it was 46% in 2024. This year, from January to March, the losses went up again to 47%. From 46, it went up. So if you are management and you don't do anything about this, what it means is that by June it will go to 48, by September 49, by December 50. Did we go or did we come? So change in strategy came, there were some few changes. And guess what? From March 47, by end of March to April, the losses had dropped from 47 to 37, 10 percentage points, because we decided to check outside regular working hours. So it may have come with some inconvenience. It may have come with some surprise element, but it has saved the company 10% losses it has saved the image of Tamale. It is not that we are just difficult people, no.
And you have the representative of NEDCO, Chris, just in a bit longer on this, what was the way forward?
Yes, so the residents are saying that, well, they are also appealing to NEDCO to change the time because when they get to the communities, the suburbs of Tamale where these operations are going on, what they do is that if 1 meter is stealing power, they are going to take all the meters of the house, and so it means that the entire household is not going to have power. So the residents are also appealing to NEDCO to ensure that they review the attempts, such that if they come and one person in the house is stealing power, they will know how to deal with that person and leave the other members of the house.
I want you to hold on a bit longer because there's another issue coming from your region, and in a bit to eliminating malaria, the Northern Regional Directorate of the Ghana Health Service has intensified its efforts in dosing over 5,000 children from 3 months to 5 years under the seasonal malaria chemo prevention program. The Directorate says the seasonal malaria chemo prevention program has shown significant impact on malaria control, particularly in areas with high seasonal transmissions. The project, which is being implemented in 69 districts across 7 regions, involves administering anti-malaria drugs to vulnerable children during the malaria transmission season to prevent the disease. Christopher, like I just said, is still on the line with us. Chris, we know that malaria tops OPD cases in the region, but just paint a picture for us how dire this is.
Yes, so malaria used to be one of the leading cause of death, especially amongst children under 5 years. But for instance, in 2011, the region recorded over 500 deaths of children under 5, which is as a result of malaria. But since 2019, when the region started the SMC program, the deaths have reduced, and last year 23 persons died as a result of malaria, children under 5. This year, half year from January to June, the region has not recorded a single reported case of death in any facility in the region, and so the region believes that the SMC program is making some significant strides, and they are hoping that with the roll-on of this year's program or campaign, they are going to ensure that no death is recorded in the region, by far eliminating malaria in the northern region.
And we know some officials have been speaking. Are you able to tell us more about what they said?
Yeah, so they have just been urging residents to bring their children for this exercise, and they are also sharing some concerns about the fact that this program was heavily financed by the United States government, and as a result of the stop work order by the government, it is affecting funding, and so they are also appealing to government to ensure that it comes in so that they will be able to continue with the program successfully, because right now they are going to do four times instead of the 5 times. That is as a result of the funding gap.
Thank you very much, Christopher Marco. He's our Northern Region correspondent. And let's take you up north around our border, and trade activities along the Aplao border have been slow despite the restoration of peace in Togo after days of widespread violence across the capital, Lome. Youth in Togo in the last few weeks embarked on civil protests to demand the resignation of the country's President Faure Gnassingbé in response to a constitutional reform which critics believe will enable Mr. Gnassingbé to remain in power indefinitely. The protest, which was met with brute opposition from the government, security forces, and arrest of many protesters, had disrupted trade activities between the two countries, particularly in towns and communities along the border. Volta Regional Correspondent Faisal Abdul Idrisu, who is keeping tabs on happenings along the border, joins us with some more on this developing story. Faisal, before we delve into the issue of trade activities, can you tell us what the current situation is like in Togo?
Yes, Beatrice, calm has been restored in Togo the chants are over, the barricades have been cleared. The number of security officers we saw on the street, some few days, have reduced drastically. That notwithstanding, the agitations are still live because the youth I've spoken to who are leading these widespread protests indicated to me that they are still discontent, even more because of how they were handled during the protest and the people that were arrested. And so there are still issues in Togo, and the indication is that things are not over yet, far from that.
Far from that, you say, and as regards the impact of this on trade activities, despite the fact that an easy calm, as it were, has returned?
Yes, so a large number of our cross-border traders do their trade in the Ashigama market in Lome. And during the days of the tension, the market was shut down, and so they could not enter Lome to do anything. Even though the market has now been reopened and trade activities are underway, our traders, particularly those from Kumasi, Takrady, among others, are not able to travel to Togo because they are still uncertain over their own safety. I checked from the border and realized that local traders, particularly those in the communities in Aflao, Akanu, Segba, among others, are able to cross over to buy foodstuffs. But the large trade activities that we see, where we see large number of people traveling from far away, Takrady and the places I mentioned, coming in and out to buy other products, is not happening. And that is affecting local trade in particular. These traditional forest traders tell me that they are the point of buying and selling different kinds of currencies. And because of the happening, they are not able to do that. If you get to the bus terminals, I interacted with some operators of the STC who told me that because of the happening, the inflow at the bus terminal has also reduced, largely affecting their businesses. Let's listen to what they've been telling me.
The demonstration inside Togo has greatly affected our business here. We have a large chunk of our people going to Lome to trade, and vice versa. The inflow has reduced drastically because Ashigama was closed down. Business was not moving, so our people, Ghanaian traders who used to come and take goods, they ceased coming. And I believe now they have suspended the demonstration. But yet, I understand the Togo side, the borders have been closed. So goods are not allowed to come here. So definitely, it's still affecting us.
And you had there some traders along the Ghana-Togo border. Earlier, you had our Volta regional correspondent Faisal Abdul Idris will bring us the situation there. Now, President John Mahama is courting partnership from the Portuguese government in helping set up a national airline. President Mahama speaking during the presentation of credentials by new Portuguese ambassador to Ghana, Maria da Conceição de Jesus Pila, expressed a commitment on the part of his government to continue doing business with the European nation. 5 countries, Portugal, Seychelles, Venezuela, Chad and Gabon, presented their letters of credence to the president, and we'll bring you more later. And before we go, the Finance Minister, Dr. Kesa Latofosin, has tasked the newly inaugurated board of the Agricultural Development Bank to focus on agriculture financing. He assured the board of the government's commitment to recapitalizing the bank to make it more efficient. New board chairman Ken Thompson also pledged to deliver on the mandate of the bank. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us today. Log on to 3news.com for more news. Have a good afternoon.
Follow us on social media, Twitter at 3FM927, Facebook at 3FM927, and also on 3news.com.
3FM 92.7.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Ausa. Coming up this afternoon, new research projects 300 basis point cut in Bank of Ghana policy rate to 25%, citing sharp decline in June inflation. We'll bring you details. Meanwhile, IC Research forecasts inflation to end 2025 at 11.3%, with July inflation falling to 12.7%. And Trade Minister swears in new boards for Exim Bank, GIPC, and Ghana Standards Authority to boost performance as well as customer satisfaction.
Of standard harmonization, because once we harmonize our standards with other countries, it makes the trading with those countries very easy under the Africa Continental Free Trade Area.
These stories and others lined up for you. Please stay with me. Thanks for your company. Now to the very first story. IC Research has projected a 300 basis point cut in policy rates at the Bank of Ghana's 125th Monetary Policy Committee meeting, scheduled for Monday, July 28 to Wednesday, July 30, 2025. The projection follows a significant drop in Ghana's inflation to 13.7% in June from 18.4% in May 2025. There is more in the following 3 Business News Desk report.
IC Research has revised its expectations for the July MPC meeting, citing stronger than expected disinflation. The call comes as the real policy rate widened significantly in June to 14.3%, up from 9.6% in May, with core inflation now firmly in the single digit. According to IC Research, these conditions create room for the central bank to take a more aggressive stance on monetary easing. However, the research firm also warned against over-optimism, highlighting potential inflationary risks in the third quarter from a possible increase in fuel levies. The Bank of Ghana held the policy rate steady at 28% during its last review in May 2025, pointing to the need to consolidate recent gains in inflation control and exchange rate stability. Since then, market yields and lending rates have declined, suggesting that conditions are now favorable for a rate cut.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Meanwhile, IC Research has also adjusted its 2025 inflation forecast downward to a range of 10.3% to 12.3% from an earlier projection of 11.8% to 13.8%. The research firm is projecting continued easing through the second half of 2025. The firm expects the upcoming crop harvest in third quarter and a favorable base effect in quarter 4 to sustain the disinflation trend, with a slight possibility of inflation dipping into single digits, potentially around 9% by year end. However, IC Research warns that anticipated electricity tariff hikes in the fourth quarter and the reinstatement of the suspended 1 cedi per litre fuel levy from July 16 could slow the disinflation momentum. Moving on, the Director of Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, ISE, Professor Peter Korte, has emphasized that African countries, including Ghana, can only achieve sustainable development by investing in research-driven policy implementation. He argued that meaningful economic transformation remains elusive without evidence-based programs. There is more in the following 3 Business News Desk report.
According to Professor Quarty, governments often face resistance from citizens when projects are rolled out without proper needs assessment or data-driven planning. He noted that effective public engagement and rigorous research are essential for successful policy execution.
The challenge we face is sometimes policymakers want the information and they need it today. They are very impatient. Oftentimes they ignore the importance of research, importance of data, go ahead. And then when it fails, you see there is policy reversal, for instance. E-levy is a typical case.
Speaking at a press conference ahead of the Evidence in Action 2025 conference, the ISA director urged government to prioritize research by allocating more funding to support the sector.
The other challenge we face with policy uptake is also to do with who funds the research. Most often the
Practice will stimulate local economic activity and restore confidence in the government's fiscal commitments.
It is unfair to, in the name of auditing, to put contractors on hold, their payment on hold for the past 6 months. I think that you end up collapsing these businesses. For the 6 months, some of these private investors have relied on borrowing. So when you pay them, they are going to use the money to pay the huge interest that is on it and also to settle the principal. There's no money left to invest. So if we keep withholding, in the name of auditing and delaying payment, we'll end up collapsing, especially Ghanaian-owned businesses that are partnering the government, in delivering your agenda. Now we have the 24-hour economy that we're expecting a huge chunk of the money to come from private sector, over 97%. And your attitude does not show commitment that if private investors come on board, you will be able to deliver your promises when it comes to payment. So we need to de-risk. We need to be able to reduce the political risk that private investors face.
And that was financial economist Dr. Eric Beatrice Adu. Remember, this is still Business Daily on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck. I'll start to some other story. The Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, Elizabeth Ofosu-Ejari, has officially inaugurated the board members of 3 key institutions under its supervision: the Ghana Exim Bank, the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, GIPC, and the Ghana Standards Authority. Their core mandate is to enhance the performance of these institutions and ensure satisfaction for both customers and the general public.
You have been carefully selected, knowing that you'll be able to execute this mandate to the optimum satisfaction of Ghanaians and the president finally. Even as I congratulate you and encourage you to start work, I want you to work well. If you start work, we'll be working closely to tell you what we have already, the handing over notes that you are inheriting, so that you take it a notch higher. We also want you to work very hard in the area of Africa Continental Free Trade Area, because it's our best bet. We need to do a lot of standard harmonization, because once we harmonize our standards with other countries, it makes the trading with those countries very easy under the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. So your task is enormous, but I'm sure that you are up to that task and you work to the satisfaction of the ministry, Ghanaians, and then the president who actually appointed you.
You heard Minister of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, Elizabeth Ofosu-Ejari, entering Business Daily on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck. I will serve for more business stories. Please check out our website, 3news.com. Thanks for your company.